Hi, this is Dr. Sana Hashmi, and I am China columnist for ThePrint. This week, I analyzed the inaugural US, Japan, Philippines Trilateral Summit that took place yesterday in Washington. The formation of this trilateral is motivated by China's assertive and coercive foreign policy, but not just this particular trilateral. China's assertive foreign policy has led to formation of several other mini-lateral groupings in the recent years. And some notable examples include the revival of the Quad that was previously known as the Quadrilateral Security Dialogue in 2017, and in 2021, the establishment of the AUKUS. As usual, the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs called this trilateral as an exclusive grouping that is stoking bloc confrontation in the region, and this is a common narrative that we keep hearing from the Chinese side. The Chinese side has also been accusing the US of meddling in China's internal affairs. So, despite China's reactions, what we are seeing is that these such groupings are becoming more and more common and widely being recognized as the most effective strategy for managing China's assertiveness. And when we talk about this particular trilateral, I think this is very significant given the US has defense alliances with both the Philippines and Japan. So China is absolutely an important trigger behind this trilateral, and it also implies how China is weighing heavily in these countries' strategic calculations. This also indicates greater convergences and alignment of interest among these countries and among several other like-minded countries in the Indo-Pacific region. But even though the China factor has been dominant and overtly visible, there are efforts to downplay the China factor. Three sides have been emphasizing that it is not aimed at any country and have been highlighting the developmental aspect of their cooperation within this trilateral framework. But if we look at the recent developments and the statements, this totally stands in contrast with the developments that are unfolding. One notable example is the joint naval and air drill in the South China Sea that were conducted by the three countries, US, Japan, Philippines, along with Australia on April 7. So if you look at the timing, it just happened before this trilateral, and the countries have been individually and even jointly talking about China's aggression in the South China Sea and have been kind of supporting the Philippines' sovereignty in the South China Sea. Then another development was that the Filipino president has been very, very vocal on China and has been calling out China's unilateral change of the status quo in the South China Sea and its rising aggression along with its non-concessionary, non-accommodative approach towards Philippines and towards a lot of other countries as well. So the Philippines is increasingly turning to extra-regional powers and reviving its alliances due to the lack of unified approach from the ASEAN members. So while Philippines and China relations are at its lowest right now, other Southeast Asian countries such as Indonesia and Vietnam are trying to reach out to China, trying to strengthen their ties with Beijing. So now, when we talk about this trilateral partnership, I believe that this hold the potential to fulfill what the Philippines has been seeking for a very long time and has not been getting from the fellow Southeast Asian countries, and that is a collective approach from like-minded countries and support from key security partners from such as the US, Japan, Australia, India, and to reduce its reliance on fellow ASEAN countries. So here the US support is crucial for the Philippines. There seems to be a significant likelihood of the US involvement if there's going to be any conflict between China and the Philippines in the South China Sea. US has already mentioned about that. Then Japan also facing potential impact of any conflict in the South China Sea, and Japan also has its own conflict with China in the East China Sea. It's also reevaluating its military role and capabilities in both the South China Sea as well as the Taiwan Strait. So for the Philippines, assurances of these partnerships from Japan and the US definitely hold substantial, important and substantial backing for the Philippines against China. So, however, all this is not enough to deter China, as in these are just words now. And of course, yesterday, the three leaders said that this is just first of the many summits that are going to happen. But I don't think that this is enough to deter China from what it has been doing. There are still questions that are being raised about the efficacy of such mini-lateral groupings. And the confused nature of these mini-lateral is becoming increasingly evident. And they're also casting doubts in their ability to successfully address this complex security issue that is emanating from China's aggression. So, and one of the reasons why I'm saying is because there has been no direct mention of China. And there is this idea that, the word China is still prohibited when it comes to joint statements. There has been a deliberate attempt to downplay the China factor and portray these groupings as primarily focused on developmental goals. This aims to underscore the grouping's non-threatening nature to regional countries and avoid appearing to target any specific country. And of course, when we talk about the third country, specific country, that's China. But this approach is not particularly helpful and effective, specifically when countries have been talking about addressing the China threat. Despite the proliferation of minilateral arrangements, many of which certainly aim to address challenges posed by China, only a few have translated into concrete and action-oriented initiatives so far. So trilateral and quadrilaterals will only be proven effective when their formation is followed by tangible actions and frameworks. And it is the only way to counter and deter China. But as I've already mentioned, most of these recent groupings lack any deterrence capability as of now. But the inaugural summit between the US, Japan, and Philippines it definitely holds a lot of potential for the US, for Japan, and for the Philippines, and for also other countries that are dealing with China in the region. But it's very important for these countries to realize that it is the trilateral will only garner serious attention when it actions aligns with its rhetoric. So it's very important that these countries focus on action-oriented policies rather than hiding behind the developmental goals aspect of the trilateral. Thank you.